working with the local church to take the hope of Christ to every student in the United States. This is First Priority. Now here are your hosts, Steve Cherokee and Brad Skelling.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the First Priority Podcast. This is my friend Steve Cherokee, and I'm Brad Skelling. And I'm really glad that you're here today.
Oh, heaven help us. It's going to be
What's
that
wrong?
day. Is it going to be that day?
Did you not like my
Is
intonation?
it going to be that day?
My intonation was spot on for that introduction.
Hello, everybody. I'm a robot, and I'm so glad you're here.
You should use your smooth jazz radio voice.
Back to 9901.
You don't have one of those, do you?
I don't. Exactly right. No,
Make it up on the spot.
I don't. Exactly right.
You got to work on that.
I do.
You and Jim Carrey.
Hey, so for those who didn't listen last week to interviews, you had some pretty big announcements last week. Do you want to tell everybody again?
I will tell everybody until it's too late.
Exactly.
That we've got 11 scholarships we're giving away.
Boom.
25,000 total, 2 5s, 4 2,500s, $5,000 scholarships. Applications are at firstpriority.club/scholarship. Get them in. Have the seniors apply because we love hearing all their stories.
And I was going to say the same. It's even just the content that we're getting in. We're super grateful that the communities that do a First Priority is a united movement, man. We are getting those in, and it's fun. I think you even said we're almost getting one a day at this point, application-wise.
It feels like it anyway.
Yeah.
It feels like I wake up and there's another application form in my email inbox.
Awesome.
So it is a lot of fun.
Well, the other announcement I think it's worth talking about is, and we might have mentioned this in the past, but the staff team of First Priority is exploding.
Yeah.
And as of today, 107 staff members?
That's our count, yes. 107 directors, coordinators, office managers, people, marketing, all the things. So 107.
The more people you have waking up thinking about it, the more people you have waking up thinking about it.
That's right.
It's huge.
Got to be thinking about the lost kids.
Love it.
In our schools in America.
Well, congratulations to you and Mark. That's big.
I give the credit to Jesus.
Okay.
Just like Lecrae does at the Grammys.
And all the NFLers after the big game.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Exactly.
Me, nice. Lecrae, and Brock Purdy. Yeah. Yep.
There were plenty of Chiefs that did too this year.
They did.
They did.
Yep.
Win or lose.
There you go.
Win or lose.
I love it.
What we got going on today?
We have another great episode. Follow up to our training here in the office.
Yeah.
We had Ashley Bell.
Yep.
And who's the other one?
Tyler Wilkes.
Tyler Wilkes. There you go. Sorry about
that. Tyler, don't worry.
Yes.
Don't worry. I won't forget you, dude. I'm here
Tyler.
for you.
I'm sorry. It was just a momentary
It was. It's
brain
all right.
lapse.
You got a lot.
Yes. Ashley Bell and Tyler. I believe Ashley's going to go first.
Yep.
Do a little segue and then jump into Tyler. Ashley's down in North Alabama.
I was going to ask you that, where they were.
Over for Phil Springer.
Yeah. Oh,
Springer stepped aside.
That guy.
Last December. Yes, that guy.
All right.
And then Tyler is in Cherokee County, Georgia.
Working with peppers.
Yep.
Is that how I say pepper? That's pretty close, isn't it?
Peppers.
That's pretty close, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's jump into Ashley and then we'll catch up.
Okay.
Here we go. Well, as Brad mentioned, we are back on the podcast. We are still at training, and I'm going to peek over at Tiana. Tiana, it's been busy. You've had a lot to do this today. All right. Well, it's been a busy couple days at training. I've got a new friend here. Yes, Ashley Bell is our new director. Are they calling you director? Is that what they're calling you?
Executive Director, North Alabama.
New Executive Director, North Alabama. I don't want to steal too much of her thunder, but Ashley, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. If you don't mind, tell First Priority Land, all our friends out there, who you are, what you are, where you're from, that fun stuff.
All right.
Okay.
Ashley Bell. I'm the new Executive Director for First Priority North Alabama. I'm from Los Angeles, California, but moved to Athens, Alabama about 2 years ago. And right now, we're just building clubs and doing the First Priority thing.
Mom.
I'm mom of 4.
You've got a number of kids. Tell us that.
I've got 4 kids. I've got a almost 14-year-old. I've got a 12-year-old. And I've got a 10-year-old. And I've got a 7-year-old. So super busy with that.
Yeah.
All into sports. So that's a lot.
Who's playing what?
So my daughters are majorettes.
Okay.
And my oldest son is a baseball guy. He's a pitcher.
There you go. I like him already.
Yes.
Okay.
And my youngest plays baseball and football.
Nice. Very, very good. All right. So how did you find First Priority? How did you find it find you?
Well, kind of both. So I wanted to make sure my kids were being involved in a Christian club in school.
Okay.
And I hadn't heard of a club out here because we were new. And so I actually asked my daughter about it, and she said, "Oh yeah, first priority.
Oh, wow.
We meet once a week."
Okay.
I was like, "And you're doing this?" And she's like, "Yeah, I love it." I said, "Oh, I got to go check that out."
That's awesome.
So-
So did you just show up or did you call somebody?
Well, I called someone. I reached out to the coach club,
Okay.
the club coach.
Club coach, yep, that's fine.
And I asked if it was okay if I dropped in to see what was up. And he said, yeah, absolutely. So I got to go. I got to see it, and I was like, sold. I was like, I have to get involved in this. It's
First
too cool.
impressions? What's the first thing you thought of as you were watching it?
I think, honestly, just so thankful that something like that could take place on school campus.
Sure. All right, and so you have 4 kids. Are all 4 in public school settings in
All 4 of them.
North Alabama?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So you have 2 that are probably involved in First Priority Club. Is that right, age-wise?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I've got 2 in the middle school,
Okay, and at the same school?
same school.
Okay, so they're involved in the same club.
Yeah.
All right, so go from being a mom that's going to peek in on to make sure that the kids are doing cool stuff and the right stuff to really finding first priority is, man, this is becoming a calling and I'm going to do something about this. I'm not just going to engage it on a parent level, but I'm going to engage it on a leadership level. How did you get there?
So I was actually saved in high school
Okay.
because a student invited me to church.
All right.
And so I think just being in that environment and realizing that there were kids in that audience that were not saved
Sure.
and that they're being raised up in the Bible Belt. So it can feel kind of uncomfortable to be in a room with Christians when you want to be a Christian, but you don't know the language and you don't have the foundation, because that was me.
Sure.
And so I guess the Lord just kind of spoke to my heart in that I could be a safe place for those kids. And so I don't know, I felt such a calling to get more involved, and they can always use more help. And a female presence I thought was important for those
Huge.
girls that were there.
Yep.
And so it kind of just took off from there, and I prayed about it, and I talked to my husband, and we both just decided that, like, students, sharing the gospel with students is my testimony. I would not have been saved had it not been for a guy inviting me to his church
Wow.
and sharing the gospel. And so to turn away from that and not get involved, it just isn't in my nature. So we decided it was good to get more involved and learn more about it and see about opening my own clubs. And so we moved from there.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So you've been drinking from the fire hose today
Yeah.
in First Priority Leadership
Yes.
Land, right? Those of you who are not aware because you haven't checked the other podcasts, we're in the thick of another quarterly training, which we try to do about 4 times a year.
Okay.
We bring groups of newbies like you, right, that are bright-eyed and ready to roll,
Yep.
and we say, hey, this is the real life of getting involved with this, and there's a lot in it. Tell me about some of the things that when you think about students sharing the gospel on campus, what are you attracted to? What do you love about that part of it?
I think I just love the potential. The potential for something that they're going to say to resonate in the heart of another student and give them the confidence to then, like, ask more questions or share their own testimony.
Yep.
And it kind of just spreads from there. So, like, it just takes one confident kid who's willing to share the gospel or willing to share how the Lord has changed their life
Yep.
to encourage the other kids around them that, you know what, this is all right. This is good, actually.
Yeah.
And to be just confident in their own faith and in their ability to share their faith and to meet kids on their own terms, like with their own language. And I just love that so much.
Well, you've hit on a couple mantras. One of the mantras of the podcast is, how many students does it take to reach a campus? And, clubs 5 in leadership and
Yeah.
16 kids at club. But how many students does it really take to transform a campus? Well, just one. It takes one hungry, obedient, radically obedient even, right? I'm scared out of my mind of being rejected. But despite that fear of rejection, I'm going to bring Jesus to my campus, right? It just takes one. And then it's infectious, and 4 or 5 other Christian kids, which leads to another mantra for us, which is what makes one of the things fun about what we do is that it is so local church based. You talk about your story.
Yeah.
Mine's very similar. A guy as a freshman invited me to church. I didn't have really a church reference, right? But invited me to church. And the idea that these students are experiencing the church on campus, on their school campus, but that also there's this safe place called the local church
Yes.
that they can begin to grow, right? And you smile because it's
Absolutely.
part of your story.
It is, yeah.
Right? Mine too, and I
It
do the
is.
same. But the idea that that's one of our mantras at First Priority,
Yeah.
right, is, hey, you're going to meet followers of Jesus of all different kinds, But then there's this great place that you can go where you can get more.
Yep.
And there's nobody more hungry. There's nobody more on fire than a new believer,
So
right?
true.
Or somebody who's hungry to be a new believer, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how much of this can I devour and where else can we go? Well, I have this weird thing we do on Wednesdays. We get together again on Wednesdays and it's not during school.
Yeah.
Well, why am I not? It's like, let's go,
want,
right?
yeah.
Super cool. All right.
Exactly.
So as you look in the windshield of leadership,
Mm-hmm.
because you're very, very new to it, what are some challenges that you see ahead?
I think probably, well, personally,
Yeah.
I desperately want to get new clubs going.
Got it.
I want to get in schools.
So
I'm
you're
like,
a starter.
Let's go.
You're
Yes,
a starter.
I just want to
Okay.
get in there.
All right.
But there is some housekeeping stuff that needs to be done. You know, you have to start with a small project to build to a bigger
Sure.
project, and I want it to be done right.
Yep.
So I think trying to not get in my own way
That's
is going
correct.
to be my biggest struggle.
Yep. And that's starters. Starters and inventors, that's what they do,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, oh, yeah, there's a club still there. I got to
Yes.
deal with that.
Yeah,
Well, you're not alone in that.
no, I'm sure.
There are a bunch of us who are Pied Pipers that we live through that all the time.
Yeah.
So super wise. Thinking about those club things, and you just said some of the things there, maintenance. Is there something in the club model that you're like, hey, I really want to see this grow in my area? I know we've had some conversations during the staff training, but what are some weaknesses in your area that you do know you're going to have to build?
I think making sure that the students are the one leading the meeting is huge. And I think also encouraging the students who are on leadership to reach other students that maybe don't know the Lord or aren't connected in a church or feel outcasted,
Yep.
and inviting them into the fold.
Yeah.
I think that that's going to be awesome when it happens.
Huge.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories from Nashville, and I've told this in the podcast before, so Tayana will nod her head, but early in my time campus coaching here at Antioch High School, the principal wasn't convinced that we as adult leaders were really as clear of conscience as we said we were. She thought we had a hidden agenda, and rightfully so. She had some reasons too. But there were numbers of times that she would put clubs that she deemed were contrary to first priority, to the gospel. You can name those clubs of anything you want, right? They're out there.
Yeah.
And what I found was it was still students searching for identity.
Sure. Absolutely.
So when I would show up with pizza, I'd show up with 6 pizzas, even though I needed 3.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'd hand the other 3 to the students, and I'd say, hey, go next door to that other club and just say, hey, we love you guys. We're for you. We're classmates.
Love it.
So-and-so, Mr. Steve is what I was called, brought pizza. And they would just be confused,
Yeah.
right? And what the principal found was all she was doing was bringing me a pond with fish for us to fish in, right? So it was super interesting that when so many parts of the church are worried about those things, that's the land of opportunity for us. Because it's kids looking for identity. And so as you run into moments, I perceive you'll probably have some of those same moments where you're like, wait a minute, it's no big deal that XX club, whatever it is, that's next door, it's actually the greatest opportunity because then we just have to go next door to share the gospel.
Yep.
And so equipping them to do so will be cool to watch you guys do.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so thinking about the chapter of North Alabama, you've been in town how long?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, a little over.
So you've jumped in head first.
Yep.
What do you love about your city?
Oh, it's so good.
Huntsville's great, huh?
Well, it's Athens.
Well,
Huntsville,
Athens,
yeah,
that's
love
fine. Okay.
Huntsville too.
Yep.
Athens is much smaller.
Okay, go ahead.
It's kind of like Mayberry.
Okay.
Everybody knows everybody. They've all been so welcoming to my kids and to my husband and I, and just getting involved in the church and in the schools and all the little like small towny things that they do, parades and the pep rallies on the square and all of that stuff. Oh, I live for it. It's so much fun. I just eat it up and my kids enjoy it. And I just feel like we're in community. And that's something that was absent back home.
Sure.
And so it's just such a blessing. I love it so much every day. We're so thankful.
Well, our hope is as you get your world wrapped around what you do for FP, that you'll find that out of the staff team as well. That you'll find that Brad and Tayana and Christina and Janice and Susan, myself, Mark obviously is the big dog that we don't get to spend much time with. You've had more time with Mark than I had today than people had in a while. So, but our hope is that you find that as well, right? That you'll find a place of community. It'll be another layer of that as you jump in. Well, that's been fun. Ashley Bell, welcome to the team.
Thank you so much.
So glad you were on the podcast.
Same. Thank you.
Well, Steve, North Alabama's going to be a great place to be for First Priority.
Yeah, you're talking about somebody who's not been there very long, who is absolutely bought into the gospel.
Yep.
Absolutely bought into her own kids.
Yeah.
And all of the kids that they're around. And this thing has just become part of what oozes through her veins.
Yeah.
Right. She is mom, super business lady. Like, just incredible.
And loving life.
And loving being a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool.
It is very cool. I'm excited for what God's going to do through her in North Alabama. She's got a great assessment of it. When I first met her, she was ready to jump in. When we got back together at training, she was ready to bring health and a solid foundation to it. So she's got a super keen awareness of what's going on there, and she's going to do a great job.
Yeah, and what everybody doesn't know, unless you're familiar with that part of the country, is that Huntsville, Alabama has a large number of immigrant families.
Yeah.
A large number of families that have no perception of the gospel all get moved to that part of the country because of cost of living, because of a particular area that they call 1 Mile Road. Like, there's some very, very serious detriments that they face. So her work is going to be huge down there. And as you said, bringing stability and having just that team built up.
That's right.
It's going to be neat to watch.
It is. Well, and Tyler's got a great opportunity too. North Georgia. Should we jump into his conversation?
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Well, as my frenemy Brad said, glad to be back on the podcast today, here with another new friend that is in town for First Party of America training. Tyler, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
So Tyler is a youth ministry vet. I'm not going to steal too much of his thunder, but Tyler, tell us a little bit about where you are, who you are, and what you are, sir.
Yeah, I'm down in Woodstock, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta in Cherokee County. We got a chapter down there, and I'm a full-time youth pastor as well.
Got it. Very good. Got family?
Yeah, I got 2 kids, a 2.5-year-old and a 9-month-old. So we're in diaper world right now. Our house stinks. Pretty much 24/7.
That's freaking awesome. That's awesome. And my house smells. How'd you meet your wife? Where's she from? How'd that all happen?
Yeah. Well, I played music in my early 20s, traveled around and played music with some friends. And I met her brother doing that around 2008. I know that I'm kind of putting my age to things now, but anyways. Yeah. So I met him around 2008, didn't even know who she was, went to her house, got to meet her family, didn't know who she was. And then in my mid-20s, I was serving in a church and we were in the same small group. So that's how we met.
Crazy.
Yep. That's very connected.
And you've been in Cherokee County how long now?
We've been in Cherokee County about 11 years now.
Wow, long time.
Yeah.
Okay, have you been at the same church the whole time?
Yep, yeah. We started in 2013 at our church just as members, and then they brought me on full-time staff 5 years ago.
Good for you. Shout out to you, youth ministry vet, staying in the same place more than 2 or 3 years.
I know, right?
Good night.
I'm a unicorn in the youth ministry world.
Well, we're growing that. It's getting better.
It is getting better.
Network's
really
like the one that you serve, and we can talk about that. So Tyler leads a network in Cherokee County. He was part of the network. He now leads it.
Yep.
Our friend Darren ran First Priority in that area for a long time. Shout out to Darren. We love you, miss you. Glad you're in the school doing your thing. But Tyler jumped in and started working that network. It's my what's the word I'm looking for? It's my arrogant opinion that the networks actually help with the tenure of the youth pastors.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go ahead.
Youth ministry can get real lonely. If you are in youth ministry, a lot of times you feel like, there's things that you don't feel like you can share with your senior pastor or with anybody else on staff. And I actually told my senior pastor that this group is my oasis as a youth pastor. I go there and I have friends that are willing to be vulnerable with me and I can be honest with them. And also it's a great way to build trust, at least from the First Priority standpoint, to build trust with youth pastors. And because honestly, it's kind of one of those things where if I don't know you, why would I trust you? You're just another person coming to ask me for something. So
we've got a natural brotherhood, but unless I understand where you've come from and where you've been, it's hard to put that trust into play.
Yep.
That's good. It's really good. Well, let's talk about First Priority a little bit because we kind of jumped in without jumping in. So were you a campus coach before you were in charge of the network? How did that all happen?
Yeah. So just through the network, I got to meet Darren and talk with Darren. And I guess it was January of 2023. So last January, just God had put even greater burden on my heart for getting on campuses. And I had already started a school club, a first priority club at our local high school, because my senior pastor is very serious about getting on campus. So I didn't start it. I'm sorry. Our students.
Sure.
My students started the club.
You were part of the process. Yep. We understand that.
And so they started that club a few years ago. And in January, God put that burden on my heart, and I was like, Lord, I don't know where this is coming from. But I also didn't know that in January, Darren knew that he was going to be going back into schools.
Yeah.
And as he was praying, he said that God laid me on his heart.
Great.
And in that same moment, as I was praying, God laid Darren on my heart. Like, if I'm going to get into schools, if I'm going to really do this well and do this seriously, I need to get more involved with first priority.
Yeah. Which I think leads me to my next question is, as you are going through first priority training, right? You've been a first priority key vol, right? What do you see that you're like, oh, I really like this. Like these are things that are attractional to me about just the whole idea of first priority.
Yeah. I think really the big thing in the beginning was, going around to some of the different types of clubs and seeing, there's some great, amazing things going on. The community that's built, the fact that you have people wanting to come and lead worship in these clubs, and you've got all these students kind of rallying around the cause of Christ is great. But First Priority offered that next level of really intentionally discipling students and intentionally helping them evangelize their campus. And actually that was two of the big tenets of with me as a youth pastor, was to equip and encourage students. So equip them to share the gospel and encourage them to do so, and put them in environments where they're gonna have a chance to do that. So First Priority just kind of gave me those things. And when I first came on staff, it was a little bit of a fire hydrant, if you will.
It's probably is this week too.
I know, right? But it's turning the water down a little bit being here for training. So kind of helping me understand, every organization has vernacular, has a culture that's around it. So I jumped in and I'm hearing all these words and I'm like, well, I know that word in the English language, but how does it apply?
Yeah, that's good.
So it's really helped me kind of figure out how the culture works and how the structure works. And it's been great.
It's great. Yeah, and you use two words that have been around first priority longer than I have even. I started in 01, and there was a time that they, instead of doing hope or epic, they did the 3 E's, and encourage and equip were 2 of those E's.
Yeah, what's the third one? Because it's going to be crazy.
I don't remember at the moment. Forgive me for that.
It was 3. It was equip, encourage, and engage for me. Those were the 3 things.
Okay, well, that might have been. Yeah, it might have been. But bottom line is those words that you have put together are words that have just rung true throughout. Here's the other thing that I love about it. And again, you began to kind of go down this as you talked about discipleship, is we talk about the church of tomorrow, right? We talk about students being the future church, and that's right, except that it's not.
Yeah.
Because on the school campus, they're the church of now.
Right, absolutely.
Right. The reality is, if we're going to stay legal and we're going to be able to stay alive no matter what political right-left forums start to happen, right? The church of now is the students on the campus. And so if we can, as you said so well, equip them.
Yeah.
And then encourage them, hey, there are going to be people that even when you say by faith, by grace through faith, that they're going to go,
yeah,
right? Nope, not me, right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right, so we've talked a little bit about what attracts you to it. What are some things that as you begin to look in the windshield, you're like, ooh, I could see this being tough moments for me as I kind of enter in a leadership role versus just a serving role?
Yeah, absolutely. I think really just balancing the time. Like I work full time, and I could really just do a million different things when it comes to first priority. Yeah. And I could jump full force into the deep end, if you will. But,
here's hoping for us, right?
I know, right?
Keep going. Yeah, keep going. We love you, Pastor. I promise I'm kidding. No,
yeah, right.
Good.
But, just for now, just being able to really intentionally focus my time and be strategic in who I'm putting into place, and being willing to just really set up those next level leaders and focus on them rather than trying to take everything in.
Yeah, that's good. You're wise in the fact that you're understanding that waking up and thinking about this every day puts a target on your back.
Yeah.
And so if you're not going to be on purpose about your time, which is the most valuable asset you own, right? It's the busyness does not equal getting things done.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. We all know that. We've all been through leadership,
that.
Right? We all have, right? And so being able to just really focus on the things that matter as you are really serving in multiple roles and have your eyes on them is going to be just huge for that network. It's funny. I was going to say it's going to be huge for you, but it's actually not. It's going to be huge for that network.
Right.
Because it's going to allow you to give the ministry away over and over again.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is going to be cool.
And that's kind of always been, I didn't come from a ministry background really. I was working full-time printing T-shirts for 4 years and then worked as assisting a project manager doing graphic design for large format printing. And so I was always looking for how can I hand off this, because I love watching other people win. That's a big motivator for me, and being able to know that I can hand this off to you and you're going to succeed, and that makes me more happy than getting any recognition.
It's cool. It's cool. Are you on a campus currently, or are you just equipping the campus coaches? Like, are you actually serve on one?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of passing off the current campus that I'm on. And so I had a youth pastor, he wasn't available, and then just recently came available, and he's like, I'm ready, man. Just put me in there. So I'm in the process of handing that off to him.
Tell me, as we just begin to land this plane, tell me about a student leader or a coach that, man, I love to tell their story because of this. Tell me about somebody that is in your network that just fires you up.
Well, one of my coaches, actually, I've known him for about 12 years. He's a young teacher, and it's kind of crazy. We had lunch over Christmas break because, teachers get so much time off. I'm a little bit jealous, but I don't want the rest of the year that they have to deal with.
I was thinking the same.
But he and I were talking, and I've known him because of the music ministry that I did in my early 20s. And he was like, man, you prayed for me one time, and it was so impactful. And I was like, well, I don't remember that, obviously, but it was impactful to him, and it kind of helped shape his view of ministry and prayer. And he said he came from a home that was very rigid and religious and very strict, and it wasn't a loving Christian family that like you would see in Scripture. And so it kind of helped him as he stepped into that teaching role, and now he's on fire for the Lord, and he's on fire for First Priority, and just what the Lord's doing through that. And so it's just kind of neat to see, something I never expected doing this is to see those relationships come around full circle.
It's cool. Man, I'm excited about what you guys have going. Shout out to Peppers, who gave all of those years to Cherokee County outside Atlanta. And we as a staff team are super excited that you're up here this week. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
All right, man. Well, since you forgot about him, I'm going to go ahead and just start there.
Sounds good.
Oh, man. Love Tyler's heart.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's jumping in, right?
He is.
There's a reason he's sitting at the table. There's a reason he's in student ministry.
Exactly.
Working at a church. He's a passion for students, passion for evangelism that fits his culture, who he is. And I'm excited to have him on the team.
It's a credit to Peppers, too.
Yeah.
Because he point blank said that network is the reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
Right. That network is what drew the net. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, oh my gosh, there's work to be done.
Yeah.
And I can empower students. I don't have to be the guy up front. I can empower them.
Yep.
And it's just turn the corner.
Mm-hmm. We'll see where it goes.
Man, he's got a lot on his plate.
Yes. New kids.
It's going to be fun.
Full-time job, part-time job.
It's going to be fun.
It'll be a lot of fun. It's good to know him. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, another great show. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, Jericho, for doing these interviews.
Yeah, it was great.
Doing the hard work.
I enjoyed it.
And telling everybody's story.
Till next time, everybody. See you soon.